And there's a great story about Maggie Dickson's pub. Maggie died here because she was pregnant and did not disclose the fact, and then after 7 or 8 months had her baby, which died quickly, and she was going to throw the dead corpse into the river but felt better of it, so she buried it, but was later confronted by those who somehow knew that she had been pregnant and asked where the baby was. It was determined that she eventually confessed to, parentheses, imagine the method of confession, close parentheses, and was tried and hung. Now, she was tried not for killing the baby, because she really didn't, but she was tried for the crime of not revealing that she was pregnant, which was apparently in those days, thank God for religion, a crime punishable by death. Now here's where the story takes a magnificent twist. When she was hung, she was afterward then put in a casket, put on a lorry or a wagon, and trucked out somewhere to the far left or east several miles to be buried. But upon driving out there, the driver heard considerable knocking coming from the back of his wagon, went out, opened up the coffin of the one that the banging noise was coming from, and there Maggie was still alive and she lived. But she was brought back here for a second hang. And given the mindset of the people in those days, that was another exciting event, only added to by the twist that it was twice for Maggie. But as they were about to hang her, someone hollered out, "You can't do that." And of course it was determined that they could not do it because of, wait for it, double jeopardy. Couldn't hang her for the same offense twice. Now here's the irony. Before she had this baby, she left her husband, moved down south with and met another man, worked with another man, and fell in love with his son but could not marry him because she was already married up here. But as a result of the double jeopardy incident, she was no longer married when she died the first time, they supposed, and so therefore she could not be held responsible for that marriage, and was now able to marry this other man. So she obtained all of her goals and a memorable page in Scottish history. Here I've wandered back inside of a modern and old Nick's complex, a court, just to see what it's like back behind the facade of the main street. Probably a little yard and a garden right there, which is a pretty accoutrement to that building. This Grassmarket street that I'm on, or square, which drew its name from the fact that it was used as a place for buying and selling grass. In that instance it means feed or hay for livestock. This would be a very pretty place with its shops and its older buildings, not the newer ones, if it weren't for the weather. So there must be some days of the year when it's quite pleasant to be. Here's another church tucked into this corner. Doesn't seem to be used as a church, but maybe it is. Backdropped by the castle. From Flodden Ridge the Scots beheld the English host leave Barmore Wood their evening post, and headful watch them as they crossed the Till by Twizel Bridge. High sighted is and haughty, while they dive into the deep defile. Beneath the cavern's cliff they fall, beneath the castle's airy wall. You just gotta love the English and Scottish names. This is a walkway, stairway beside this church. And while the church remains unnamed to me, this is Granny's Green. If only the internet would tell the story. Maybe it does. Don't know what a Venel is, but it's leading to Brown's Place. Maybe that's just the name of the street. There we can see the abandoned church and Grassmarket. And Granny's Green. And the castle. There's some gray rock contrasting the black stone of the sidewalk, referencing Flodden Wall, 1513 to 1870. I would guess that this represents the path of the wall, so that his poem was related to this castle. I think this may be the name of the man who created the school we'll see in a few minutes for orphans. He was a wealthy man a couple centuries ago. Instead of orphans, it now houses the wealthy and gives some of the wealthy a chance to meet a few orphans that are allowed. Backdrop by the abandoned cathedral is this little church, tower-like, fort-like, that is also abandoned to dentistry. This wall is interesting apparently because, either the condemned who were ultimately burned for crimes, or the witches who were burned, their ashes were resumed at one point in time and used in a mortar, I think, or else for firing bricks and so forth, because of a lack of fuel. The wood that had been used for the burnings had decimated the forest nearby. So this apparently contains ashes of those people.